Welcome to Get Savvy, the podcast for business owners who want to claim back their time through the power of streamlining, delegation, and productivity. I'm your host, Tisha, and I have my co-host, Joe, back with us again today after missing the last couple of episodes. So it's really great to have you back, Joe.
Thanks for having me back.
And we're discussing a topic that I know you're quite fond of and is very topical at the moment in regards to automation and all the cool tools out there at the moment. We are discussing the balancing act of the human touch versus automation. So, could you explain to us, Joe, because it is a topic that you love so much, what we mean by automation?
Yeah, so there's a few different things because sometimes, well, especially now, we can think of automation as Chat GPT, this AI
Mhm.
tool, and that's what automation is. But it's more than that. That's just one kind of part, one option.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things in business that can be automated using certain online tools and using something like Zapier that helps tools talk together, or just using integrations between two different tools that kind of have some kind of trigger
Hmm.
that sets off an automation and does something without a human needing to do it and touch it.
Hmm.
It could be things like, on Messenger for Business, there is a autoresponder option in there that means if someone clicks on a button or says a particular phrase, then an automatic message gets sent. Those kind of things is what we're talking about with automation. And then obviously there is the Chat GPT tool and then all of the other AI tools that have appeared. I heard a stat the other day that there were 1,000 new AI tools that hit the market in
Whoa.
April this year alone.
It's crazy. Yeah, because the photo editing AI tools have just absolutely exploded over the last month, it feels like.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
It's
like
it's
it's like
crazy.
every online tool has now got an AI component or
Mm.
feature included in it now. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's huge.
Yes, absolutely. And we did also talk about automation and some other examples, and we got quite specific actually with some examples 5 episodes ago, episode 10 of the Get Savvy podcast. So if you haven't listened to that, I would suggest listening to that first before you crack into listening to this one. We're going to discuss sort of the pros and cons for each of automation and the human touch, and also, yeah, at the end, sort of recap how you can balance both of those things for your business.
Mm. And there's something
So,
else too, Tisha, before we move into that I think there's a lot of confusion out there about what actually Chat GPT is, and then how that what the other tools are and how that kind of technology works. So what I've learnt and how to kind of explain it in the like simplest form possible is Chat GPT is an open source technology that other people, other creators of tools can actually use that as the technology behind their own tool. So
mhm,
ChatGPT 3 is the free with a paid version as well, but a free option that everyone can go on to, set up an account and use. And it's where you can text, message the tool, and it will go, or it has already kind of read the internet, but
mm,
prior to like maybe 2021, something like that.
yeah,
So it's not completely up to date. It's and then you can only text message it back and forwards. That's all you can do. But the technology of Chat GPT 4 is that now that tool can actually be sent links, and it can go and listen to
mm,
a podcast episode, watch a video, read text that is currently on the internet, and you can interact with it a lot more. Now, that technology is now the technology that the tools where you see, like, hey, this AI tool and this AI websites, those tools are actually using that Chat GPT for technology, but they have created a different kind of interface to use it. So, an
mm,
example is Copy AI is a tool that I've purchased, and it has a really nice interface and a kind of workspace where you can use it to do your copywriting. So it's the interface that I have paid for specifically with Copy AI that uses the technology of ChatGPT 4. So
mhm.
hopefully that helps anyone who didn't know kind of what this technology is and how it is used on all these different other platforms.
And as you can tell, both Joe and I are very excited about automation and AI, and we're absolutely leaning into it. So, yeah, this is a really, really good topic for us
Mm.
to tackle. So, yeah, we'll get into the pros of automation as the first one. And I guess, again, we've covered this a few episodes ago, but one of the really big ones is that increased efficiency, productivity, streamlining, one of the huge topics we talk about all the time. All of those repetitive tasks, and we've, yeah, spoken about this before, those daily tasks, those hourly tasks, weekly tasks, any sort of repetitive task, looking at those and figuring out if they can be automated, they most likely can. Um, and AI will do them really quickly and efficiently. And it doesn't mean, again, that it's taking away a job. It means that your team that was in meant to be looking after that task can then focus their time on something else.
Mm. Yeah. Higher level things, more complex things, creative things, things that needs
Mhm.
like to come up with ideas, implementing things like yeah, there's lots of other work that is far more has a better return on
Yeah.
investment in terms of how you would use that team member's time,
Mhm.
that can really benefit the business. So yeah, I love that one.
Yeah. And also, with that, you have the cost savings. Again, if we're thinking about taking say, a full time employee off this really repetitive task that they're wasting, even if it's 5 minutes every time they do it, if
Mm.
it is an hourly task, say, and they're doing that all throughout the day, that's going to add up, and that is time that they can be spending on something else. And yeah, if you can automate that, then you're going to save that employee's time.
Mhm.
And you're also going to minimize errors as well.
Yeah, that's a big one, I think, is like
Mm,
humans will make errors, but AI can't make an error, or the automation can't make an error unless we've put an
programmed.
input in or
Yeah.
programmed it in the wrong way. But it's gonna do the same thing
Mhm.
at the same kind of level and at the same with the same kind of output every single time. It's super reliable. So yeah, absolutely it can minimize those errors.
Mm. And then as well, when you start scaling whatever that automation is that you've set up, if we say that you have a MailChimp auto email that's going out every time someone signs up to your mailing list, they
Mhm.
get an email that says, "Welcome on board. Hello." Rah, rah, rah." If you have a team member that is manually sending that out every time, say if it's only one email a day, then sure, that may only be 5 minutes or whatever it is. But if you scale that up and you're getting hundreds of inquiries because your business is taken off, then that team member is going to be out of their depth
Mm,
trying to manually do that every time. So for that, it really makes sense to be leaning on AI automation because it can scale and it can handle those large volumes of work.
mm. Yeah, sure can.
Cool. So now if we move on to the human touch pros.
Mhm. There is something about relationships and that human connection that we just want.
Mm,
So the human touch can absolutely like foster that know, like, and trust, that loyalty with your brand, build those relationships and have those stronger connections. Like sometimes it's quite obvious when you're interacting with
mm,
an AI or automated or
yeah.
something kind of message. Like you know it is. And there's something about, like, oh, it's really nice when you actually interact with a human now
Mhm.
because we've like lost that a bit. And so
Yeah.
it is nice when you're interacting with a real person.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and some people just absolutely loathe when they know that they're talking to AI or a computer and they just put me through to a real person. So, yeah,
Mhm.
need to keep
Yeah.
that in mind, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, with humans, you just generally have that emotional intelligence. They can read the situation, they can
Mm.
understand emotions. They can tell when, say, the customer that is chatting to them, even if it's on a chatbot, they can start to read those undertones of what those emotions might be. If that customer is starting to get annoyed,
Mm,
and actually a human will be able to provide that genuine understanding or empathy or whatever emotion is needed in that moment, where
mm,
AI can't always do that. It's
mm.
getting better, but
Not yet.
it's never perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely not at the moment.
Yeah. And that like the social cues, human to human interaction, we can pick up on those social
Mm.
cues and read those.
Yeah,
Whereas like AI right now, not so great.
yeah. And AI is also still getting the hang of that complex problem solving as well.
Mhm.
Um, if a customer is unhappy asking for a solution, then AI, unless you've programmed it to give specific answers, if it's being
Mm,
asked a specific thing, then it's not going to be able to problem solve, give that customer sort of what they're after. Like if you can offer them a discount or, something like that, then that complex problem solving in the moment. And
mm,
again, I guess it's part of reading that social cues thing
mm.
as well.
Yeah. And I mean, who knows what AI is going to be like in the future. So yeah.
So don't listen
Right
to this
now.
episode in 10 years' time because it'll be completely different by then.
Yeah. And humans have this ability to like adapt to new situations, problem solve, like that really creative kind of thinking. So adaptability and creativity, I think, is still like humans are still better at that than
Mm,
AI. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So if we get into the cons for automation, they're going to be fairly similar as what we've just been through with the human touch. It's kind of the opposite of,
Mm,
yeah, what we've just discussed. But yeah, it's not as flexible, and in general, like you said, Joe, the lack of human touch, the lack of emotional intelligence, the lack of human-like interactions,
mm,
and you can just tell that you're talking to a robot at the moment.
mhm,
That's my little disclaimer, but yeah, it's not as flexible.
mm. Yeah. And there is still this need for human kind of judgment and problem solving that,
Mm,
there's limited kind of problem solving and judgment in AI right now. So
yeah,
it may struggle when there's kind of like unpredictable situations because like
yeah,
you can't program it to for every single possible thing that a human is going to say to it or problem that the human is going to have. So
yeah.
it's only as good as what we are programming into it right
Mhm.
now.
Yes. Which leads us on to our next point, and that is, I mean, it could be seen as a pro, could be seen as a con, but the initial investment for these AI tools and automation, and that is both the technology or the tool itself, and
Mhm,
if there is a price tag on that, but then also the investment of having someone trained to be able to use that tool or app or automation really well, because
mhm.
you can't just push a button and it knows exactly what you want. You do have to spend that time and figure out how to use it really well.
Mm. Yeah, there's going to be some trial and error. There's going to be
Yeah.
a lot of like iterations in terms of how you using it. So when I use it to do copywriting, like I'm having to like keep improving it and keep changing my prompts to figure out like
Mm.
what is going to be the best output. And that does take some time. It takes longer than me writing whatever I was going to write
Yeah.
initially.
Yes.
But over time, once I learn more and the tool learns more, then it will like become faster and faster.
Yeah. And you have to put that price tag in perspective as well, because if you are spending, say, $1,000 on this tool or app, it may seem really expensive, but if it's going to save someone on your team at least $1,000 worth of time
Mm.
saving, then it's most likely worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, cons for the human touch. Big one, human error, inconsistencies. People are prone to mistakes, whether it's they're distracted, they're being lazy, People just make mistakes, often not on purpose. They do just slip through because that is us as humans.
Yeah, I mean, they might have something personal going on that
Mhm.
like is on their mind. There's all sorts of reasons why humans make mistakes, health reasons, etc. But also like inconsistency. So it might be that a human might do something over and over and over, and then suddenly they just start doing it differently. And then they do that over
Yes.
and over and over, and then they might change something else. And then it's not how it was intended in the beginning.
Yep. Good old Chinese whispers. And example that we have referenced a few times actually is the training course that we have at Strictly Savvy, and we've automated that, and a lot of it is videos. So they're going through this course essentially, because part of that is that we would have to repeat the exact same information every single time we onboard someone, but sometimes Joe onboards them, sometimes I onboard them, sometimes one of our team leaders onboards them, and there's going to be that variance and the inconsistencies in the
Hmm.
information we're telling them, or we may just miss one little bit of information that's really crucial. And so capturing that in something like a training course has meant that, yeah, we don't really have that human error.
No. Yeah. Yeah. It's a great option.
Mm.
Right, another one is limited capacity. So humans absolutely have physical
Mhm.
limitations. So it isn't physically possible to like do large increasing volumes of work in the same amount of time like an AI tool could.
Mhm.
Like we physically can't work 24/7, nor should we. So an AI doesn't need to sleep or eat. So absolutely
Yes.
it could continue working 24/7.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then there's also that unpredictability with humans as well, although they can't work 24 hours. If they did, then obviously errors like fatigue would be creeping in. But then in general, humans are so unpredictable. You never know who's going to be sick one day, who's got personal issues, something's going on with their family, or if you have a team, at any moment someone could resign. AI
Mhm.
is not going to do that to you.
I just realized that. Wow, AI is like so solid, isn't it? It's never going to leave. That's
No,
amazing.
it will always be your friend, Joe.
And memory constraints too. So that's a great
Mm,
point. Humans, we have a memory. It's not so great. It declines over time.
yeah,
Depending on how you've looked after yourself, nutrition, all that kind of stuff. Depends on how good your memory is.
yeah.
And AI, oh, perfect memory.
It's on the up and up. Humans,
On the
memories on the
down.
down.
Yeah.
And then also, as we've mentioned, the higher costs that come with employees. I'm going to take a wild guess and say they're pretty much always more expensive than AI.
Yes, absolutely. And especially for things that are like really need to scale up, like high volumes of work, a human, they've only got a certain capacity.
Mhm.
So, of course, there's going to be a higher cost to employees doing repetitive things as opposed to AI, which is kind of a monthly, annual kind of cost to use a tool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
So how do we balance automation and human touch then, Joe?
Yeah, because when we want to have humans in our business.
Yeah.
We want our clients, our customers to have some human interaction. They want to talk to a real person. I love having a team. I love having the atmosphere and the culture. Like I wouldn't want just AI to be delivering services.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, because I like that and it helps my personality style in terms of like having other humans interacting.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think there's absolutely still a place for humans in business, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things we've identified that you can do is create guidelines around the split essentially. So when should automation be used? And one of our handy tips from our episode a few episodes ago was identifying those tasks that are repetitive. So your
Mm,
hourly, daily, weekly, monthly tasks, whatever frequency they are, how can you automate that? And even if it's only part of it as
mm.
well, it's still going to save time.
Yep, yep.
And as part of that as well, again, thinking about working with humans with this is the balancing act. So the collaboration between your team and AI that can enable it to use both. So, when is it appropriate for that automated task to then hand off to a human? Does it make sense for the entire thing to be automated and it doesn't need a human touch? Or is there a trigger point that it needs to switch over?
Mm. Yeah, a chatbot on a website is a really good example of that, where like it may initially give that responsive message back to someone on the website. And if it can help and answer a question, great. But then it hands it over to a human
Mhm.
when it kind of gets to the point where it can't help anymore,
Yeah.
or when it makes kind of sense for that customer to then get some human interaction to take the
Mhm.
conversation further.
Yeah. And also looking at the interactions you're having with customers or the types of inquiries that you're getting. Are you frequently using human problem solving for those interactions? Are you being asked different questions every time? Are you being asked the exact same question every time that you're just having to repeat manually every time? So identifying whether that again can be automated, whether it does make sense to stay with a human if you have a human
Mhm.
managing your social media.
Yep.
And also training. It's a big one that is kind of gets lost in this conversation a little bit. You actually have to learn it yourself still. You can't at this stage do this without humans and do
Mm.
it well without humans anyway.
Yeah, well, the AI needs the input from a human, and like you did a great reel teacher where like you're comparing two tools with some AI in it, and
Mm,
the inputs that you put in, you know, you had to change it multiple times to try
yeah,
and get something that you were actually wanting out of the tool. So there definitely is some training on terms of like the language to use with the AI tool, if we're talking about that in particular, and what kind of prompts get the best results.
mm,
And you know, there's still going to be that input. You still have to put some kind of prompt in, or you still have to set up the automation
yeah,
in the tool. You still have to have that human training and
mm,
input into the tool to get the results that you want.
yeah, and ongoing as well. Just I know when we used to use MailChimp, I hate to call them out here, but occasionally we would have this automation sending to people that were new to our list that would just turn itself off for no
Mm.
apparent reason. And so we would have to jump in and just check every now and again that it was still
Mm.
sending. So you do need to keep an eye on it, even if it is set up.
Mm.
It's like another team member. You do have to monitor it.
Yeah. Mhm.
We actually had one of our listeners give us a really amazing example as well of how she implemented automation after listening to episode 10. She had set up a Facebook ad and was getting quite a lot of inquiries about the ad, but she was able to recognize that she was just responding pretty much the same thing every time. So she implemented the Facebook autoresponder messages. And because of her really quick responses, she was able to convert more of those leads because they were getting answers instantly. They really liked that. They didn't have time to go elsewhere. And so it paid off for her.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a really simple, like that probably took her like less than 15 minutes to set up,
Yeah.
and got a huge return on that
Yeah.
investment of time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, very, very cool. And like anything, you need to continuously seek to improve. Technology is changing so much at the moment. And like Joe said, even just in the last couple of months, there have been so many different tools and apps that have come out recently. So just every now and again, look at your processes, assess what processes your team are doing, what you can adjust, what needs to be with humans, what needs to be with automation. And yeah, as new tools come out, things will change. So just have a look at it all, really bigger
Mm,
picture.
mhm.
Where can you save time? Where can you save money? And it will depend on the nature of your business as well. And like we've said, your specific customers. So if you're finding those inquiries or problem solving, like we've said, might pay to keep it with humans for a little bit longer. So just make the decisions that are right for you and your business.
Mhm. I'm going to make a bold prediction that very soon there are going to be job ads out on Seek in larger organizations who are looking for a new type of role, and it's going to be something around implementing AI and automation in a
Mm,
business and looking for opportunities to use specific tools and streamline stuff. That is absolutely going to be a new role that is created out of like these kind of times. So
yeah.
that's my prediction. We're going to start
Yes.
seeing a role. I don't know what it's called yet, but that's what they're going to do.
Absolutely. So it does pay to move with the times and, yeah, have AI on your side. It doesn't need to be this
Mm,
big, bad, scary thing. So,
yep.
and if you want help setting up an automation for your own business, then head over to strictlysavvy.co.nz and speak to one of our team about how we can help you in your business. And if you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate, like, and subscribe to the Get Savvy podcast.